Welcome to Tom's Aviation and Firearms channel. This is going to be a looking at some precision tools for this episode, and this will be Precision Tools 1. And I will talk a little bit about the precision tools. And there should be also a part 2 or part 3 later. Okay, today I'd like to start talking a little bit about some precision instruments. The first one I'm going to look at here is the cylinder square or cylindrical square. This thing is 3 inches in diameter, 6 inches tall, and from the base to the top, it's within 1/10 or 1/10,000th of an inch. And what we do is, if you need to calibrate, to take a look at your squares to see if they're tweaked a little or not. I have a set of squares here that I got. These are very precision. They're made by Brown and Sharp. And so you can actually check them to see how they're doing. If you drop them or something, you could tweak them. So what this does is you bring it up and you bring this up against this thing and you look to see if there's any gap with the light coming in from the backlighting on it. And you do that to check them. You can also check it, since it is ground on top, you could actually lay it up like that and do the same thing to see if it's square or not and get any light. So you check the inside edge or the outside edge. And there are several in this set. There's actually 4 in this set of squares, and I check them to be sure that they are accurate. There's different sizes for different things right here for setups. I use them a lot when I have to square. When you have any precision tools and you use them, you want to check to be sure they're still accurate. Years ago, I used to work in a machine shop that was a production shop, and we had different tools and stuff to check them. We'd have a blueprint, and you had to make your parts within the tolerances set on that, on your print. So if you don't have accurate tools, you don't know where you're at. And the tools can get damaged, dropped, or whatever. So you really want to go back and calibrate all your tools, check them to see if they are within tolerance. So this is looking how you check squares. Yes, I'd like to now talk a little bit about some calibration blocks or Johanneson blocks. Now you can get these sets. I think this is a 81 piece set. And what it does is you get them in, starting off in 50 thousandths, 100 thousandths, then they go 100 plus 1/10 through the system, and it goes all the way up to 4 inches. This is a grade B. Grade B is actually a working one, and they have to be within plus or minus 50 millionths. And they actually give you a calibration card right here that shows what it was, and they checked it with a laser. You can get more accurate ones if you're doing for an inspection room or something. Then you may want to be able to check what you've got here in these blocks. These are more or less used in the shop because of their cheapness and price. It's a lower price one. The more accurate you get them, the higher the price. And you have to protect those a little bit. But for what I do, this set works really good. I may in the future get another set. And so you can stack anything on this, and you can ring them together, and that's by twisting them. They are lapped, and they will give you the accuracy that you need. Also, I picked up a set of clamps and stuff for them that you can clamp. This is by SPI. They have different size. They have a lot of different tools and stuff that you can clamp in there with them for checking the radius inside of a circle or something like this, small circles. And they get it clear up to larger circles or holes that you need to check. They also have bars that will go across the top, so you can actually sort of set them up as a block or something. You can use them as gauges as far as go, no-go type stuff if you want to set them up. Now, this little set here, list price on I think was $1,050. I found it on eBay for like $6.80 before shipping. That was because the case itself was damaged. It looked like someone dropped it. Brand new other than that. And so saved about $350. So to me it was a very worthwhile purchase doing it that way. Do you need all this? It just depends on how accurate you want to check your stuff. So those are the systems I have for checking these blocks. Also got my 10-inch Shars from Shars. And this I showed in the other video. This is 10 inches. And it has a certification sheet also on it. These certification sheets tell you what the accuracy is when they measured them at 68 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius. They also have on the chart what the expansion of thermal expansion rate is, or the coefficient of expansion. So you would multiply that out and you could figure out if you really needed to, if the temperature changed slightly, to what the actual dimension would be. Don't normally get into that because most of the time when I measure stuff, it's usually in 68 degrees if I'm in my basement. If I'm up here, it just depends on the time of day. Right now it's probably close to 80 degrees in here. And it's a little bit warmer. But for what I do, this works good. So that's looking at these blocks and what they do. Mentioned in my other video on the mill and the calibration, I talked about these blocks, and it was by a guy named Johannesson that developed it for the auto industry. He turned around this, a lot of times it's referred to as Joe blocks. But when I was working in the machine shop precision with my dad, this was back in the 60s. We used this constantly, this type of stuff to check parts and stuff, because we made parts for the aerospace industry, and things were called out on the prints. And when you get into that type of accuracy, you know, if you're talking within a couple of thousand, you want to know where it is. Also, you use these blocks to calibrate your mics and stuff like that. They do have a set of standards a lot of times that comes with the mics or micrometers. Those, depending where you get them, may or may not be exactly right. For most use, yeah, it's good. You can tell where it is. But they could be off several tenths unless you have a way of actually checking them against Joe blocks. You really don't know exactly how it is. You know, if you're dealing with, you know, your own stuff and you're satisfied that if you get it within, you know, a half a thousandth, yeah, this equipment, you can probably use the standards and any gross errors or anything. I usually like to be a little more precise. Maybe I don't need it, but I like to go there. So I actually take a look at calibrating my mics and all my measuring equipment, at least every probably 6 months or whatever I use them. I don't do it all the time, but I do check them, see what it is, and recalibrate. The mics you can calibrate and adjust them for being right on. Yes, I like to talk about precision tools. One thing I'd like to talk about is on the tools, is where do you get them? What brands do you get? And do you use US made or imports? You've got Europe, Japan, Taiwan, China. Those are major importers. Sometimes you get stuff from India, you get stuff from, you know, Turkey. There's a lot of different ones on doing it. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, do you need new or do you need used ones? And how do you obtain them? Well, let's talk a little bit about them. A lot of these that I have right now are Starrett, that is US manufactured equipment and stuff. These are usually fairly high priced. They're manufactured in the United States. And they have carbide faces on most of the ones I have. And they measure within 1/10,000th of an inch. They actually have the micrometer themselves. When you look at it, it is marked on the digits and it gives you within a thousandth, and then they get a vernier scale on the back side. Work very well, but they are expensive. Example, I think the 1-inch ones are around $200 for one of those. Now, you can get Chinese ones. The Chinese ones, I have a set. I have a set that goes from 1 inch clear up to 12 inches. I bought the whole set for $200, inexpensive. This was about 17 years ago, 16, 17 years ago. They work well. They're usually marked in half thousandths, and then they have a veneer scale for additional 5/10 on each one, so you can actually measure the same accuracy. Are they as good? Well, that's just a matter of opinion. I like the US ones, but the other ones do a good job too. So if you're looking at price and cost, and depending what you get, they may very well be an option. European ones seem to go for pretty much the price that US ones do. Japan maybe a little less, but there's some very good Japanese ones. So you just have to sort of look and see where you want to go with these. Now, it's just been recently that I have actually upgraded a lot of my tools to Starrett. I did have several in here, and I did wind up just recently, like I say, upgrading them. Now, new versus used. Well, if you can get used equipment, you can go to eBay, or you can go to a swap meet. Now, eBay has a lot of stuff on there, and you can find some really nice stuff. You can get things that are not marked with anything on them. I have several that I have gotten used from eBay. They're like new. I've got some that was old stock but new. They open package, but it was brand new. Some I couldn't really find what I wanted. The 5-inch and 6-inch seemed to be used, but they were marked or not in the shape I wanted, so I wound up buying those two new. The others I probably got used or new old stock. And then a couple other ones on here. There's a couple made with stainless steel. Now the stainless steel ones wind up being more expensive. Are they any better? I don't know. I like the satin ones because I think they're easier to read. But I went ahead and got the stainless steel one just to have stainless steel. And then another one that I find very interesting is this one right here. This is a Starrett. I think the list price on it is something like $680. Quite a bit more than the standard one for $200 or so. This one will actually do a direct 10th readout. So you actually dial this in to the number you should come to. You get the feel on it. And then you just keep twisting until that lines up. Then you go over to the other side and read the tenths. It's very accurate if you're trying to measure stuff into tenths and set them up. I got it for $150, almost like new on eBay. A-Bomb79, he showed one on, he got one just like this. He got it at a swap meet. He paid $15 for a $680 set of micrometers. So sometimes you get very good deals. I haven't seen many of those on eBay, so I got one that looked and really almost like new, and that's what I did. Okay, continuing on, what I want to show here is going across. Here's the 3-inch, 2 to 3-inch Starretts. They're basically the same, except they've gone into the black frames. These got carbide. You can get them with or without carbide, depending if you get them in tenths or non-tenths. I've got the 3 to 4s. I've got the 4 to 5, and then the 5 to 6. I don't have anything larger than that except in Chinese. Moving down the line here, look at some other stuff here. What I'm going to show is a set of digital Starretts. Now these are really handy. I think the list price is up in $240, $280, something like that. And this is, I think, made in overseas. And you can actually switch on it. It's a digital electronic one. You can be changed between inches and meters. You can also zero at any point you want. And it's got a whole feature on it. And it even has a plug in the back if you want to do statistical data off of measurements, put it into a computer program. Those are available. Don't use them too much. I really like the others a little better than the digital, but the digitals are nice. They work very good if you've got to switch from English to metric. If I have to do that, that works great. Now these are a set. These are actually, I think, made in China, and they actually, Starrett has them also. They also have different tips that you can put on here, and there's a round one and here's a flat one. This can be used to measure inside, like tubing diameters. I also have another set of mics, 0 to 1s that measure tubing, and those are available. A couple up here, these actually are, they measure, for this one here, it goes from 2/10, and this is not 10 thousandths, this is 200 thousandths, or 2/10 of an inch. And it measures in thousandths up to 1.2 inches. And that's for inside measurements, and you can get direct readings. I have the other ones that goes from 1 to 2 inch, also 2 to 3s. They're all imported from China. I don't use them a lot, but if I do have to measure them, they work good. For the calibration on them, what I usually typically do is, while they're close, I usually mic over them with a set of mics anytime I do inside. So I measure that, get them set pretty much where I want, and then I check it against a set of outside mics. This is a groove mic right here. It will measure the distance, either the size of the groove or the distance from the edge to the groove, and these are handy. The other thing I have, and again, these are Chinese imported. This one here is a Starrett. It is a depth gauge, or a depth micrometer, and it goes from 0 to 6 inches. This right now has a 1 to 2 inch rod in it. They do have different rods that you can get for it. I bought the set. It goes from 1 inch to, or 0 all the way up to 6 inches. You can get larger sets. Typically, that does the job I need. Also, for doing holes and stuff, there is a set of hole gauges right here. And these measure from, ½ inch all the way up to, again, I'd like to talk about a couple other things I have. I also have pin gauges. They go from 11 thousandths all the way up to 1 inch. It's a minus in. I think it's within 2/10, and I have them by every thousandth of an inch. And they're used for checking holes and stuff. And they're ground stock, and very useful at different times. Standards for micrometers. Let me get a set there and show you. These are standards. This is a one that's used in a 1 to 2 inch mics, so it's 1 inch. I did check this one. This is within 0. I've got another one here. It's a 2 inch one. It would be used from 2 to 3 inch. Again, I usually use Joe blocks, but those gauges will work as far as checking micrometers. My 0 to 12 inch ones from imported from China, they have standards that go all the way up to for 12 or 11 inch standard on it. So I can actually check them all the way up to those micrometers. So those are all being able to check those. Other thing I'd like to talk a little bit about is I have different torque wrenches. And some will measure in inch pounds, some are digital, and you can go in Newton meters, or you can read it in foot pounds. Some are inch pounds on the real lightweight ones. And I have them set up for 1/4 inch drive, 1/2 inch drive, and 3/8 drive. Also, I have one that I use, and I showed in an earlier video, using for the ER60 collets, and it has both scales on it. Now, one of the things on torque wrenches is they need to be calibrated too, and they usually come with a calibration sheet when you have it. I don't typically do stuff that requires that, but I would like to know. So I actually went to Harbor Freight, and I got a digital readout on it. I actually got a digital readout one, and what this does, you should place it in a, and it gives you a digital readout of what the torque is. So you can look at this, not that this is calibrated any more accurate than the others, but now I can, with the same torque, I can see how close they are. So if I'm getting one that's within several foot-pounds of each other, then I'm probably okay. But if I had one that one gauge said it was 50 foot-pounds, the other one said 10, then I know I'd have an error someplace. So these are good to check if you're looking at checking them. They actually have adapters so that I can use all the way down to 1/4 inch with these. Surface plate. I do have a surface plate downstairs in my basement. It's cooled at 68 degrees. That surface plate is where you can really check a lot of stuff. Right now I do reloading. I do have a lab scale on there for I use for reloading. And it measures within 1/10 of a milligram, or 200, or within 100 micrograms. It is a very accurate scale. If you break that down into grains, which they're usually using, that's 1/10 of a grain, or 2/10, someplace in that range. I think it's actually 1.6 grains. The conversion is compared to like 10 milligrams. But this scale goes clear down to 1/10 of a milligram. And I usually do it off the surface plate. Surface plate, I think, is an 18 by 24. Very useful if you're doing layouts or you have to measure stuff. I also have dial indicators. I will show you those in a moment. And miscellaneous, I did show you the squares and how I calibrate them. And that's a list of my precision tools. I will get into showing the dial indicators, and I have some specialty dial indicators for the lathe and stuff. Yes, this is a series on machine shop. The first one was on the mill. I want to thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you.